Fleet Admiral Kixthra sat in her command chair, staring at the empty holographic display. The screen had gone dark 3 minutes ago, right in the middle of Commander Velnok's transmission. She replayed the last few seconds in her mind. His face, usually so proud and confident, had been twisted with something she had never seen before. Fear. Pure, absolute fear. "Play it again," she ordered her communications officer. The hologram flickered to life. Velnok appeared, his blue skin pale and covered in dirt. Behind him, fires burned. Smoke filled the air. Something was screaming in the background. Not something, someone, her soldiers. "Admiral, we need immediate evacuation," Velnok said, his voice shaking. "The humans, they don't stop. We destroyed their cities. We thought they would surrender. Instead, they fought from the ruins. We eliminated their military bases. Their civilians picked up weapons. Old ones, young ones, it doesn't matter. They all fight." His head turned suddenly, looking at something off-screen. His eyes went wide. "They're here. They found us. How did they—" Then screaming. So much screaming. The transmission cut to static. Kixthra sat in silence. Around her, the bridge crew worked quietly, but she could feel their nervousness. Everyone had heard the transmission. Everyone knew that something had gone terribly wrong. "Bring up the mission file," she said quietly. "I want to see everything about Earth." Her tactical officer worked quickly. A new hologram appeared, showing a blue and green planet. It looked beautiful, peaceful. How could such a pretty world be causing so much trouble? Kixthra began reading the initial report. Earth. Third planet from a yellow star. 1 large moon. Primitive species called humans. Technology level early FTL capability. Weapons, basic plasma rifles, conventional explosives, primitive aircraft. Shielding, none detected. Recommendation, easy subjugation target. She kept reading. The human population was divided into different nations. They spent most of their time fighting each other. Their planet had limited resources and they constantly competed for them. They seemed weak, divided, perfect for conquest. Commander Velnok had been so confident. Kixthra remembered the briefing 3 cycles ago. He had stood before the Confederation Council with his chest puffed out, his voice full of pride. "Earth will be ours within 2 cycles, he had promised.
"The humans have barely left their own solar system."
"They have no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no proper space fleet. We will land. They will see our power and they will surrender. It will be simple." The Council had approved the invasion. They needed Earth's resources, water, minerals, food. The planet was rich, and the humans seemed too weak to defend it. Kixthra scrolled further down the file. Then she saw something that made her breathing stop. At the very top of the page, in red letters, were words she had somehow missed before. Deathworld, Class 12, Extreme. Her 4 eyes widened. She clicked on the classification details. The report opened, and Kixthra felt her blood turn cold. Earth's gravity was 1.4 times the standard that most species evolved in. The oxygen levels in the air were high enough to fuel rapid fires. The planet had extreme weather systems. Hurricanes with winds that could tear apart buildings. Tornadoes that could lift vehicles into the sky. Electrical storms that produced more power than their plasma weapons. She kept reading. The temperature varied wildly across the planet. Some areas were so hot that water would boil. Others were so cold that the air itself could freeze a person's lungs. And humans lived in all of these places. The biological survey was even worse. Earth was an apex predator homeworld. The planet was filled with creatures designed to kill. Large reptiles with jaws that could crush metal. Massive bears that weighed 800 kilograms. Cats that could run faster than their fastest vehicles. Wolves that hunted in packs and could chase prey for days without stopping. Even the insects were deadly. Spiders with venom that dissolved flesh. Mosquitoes that spread diseases. Parasites that ate hosts from the inside. And the humans had survived all of it. No, not just survived. They had thrived. They had become the dominant species by being more dangerous than everything else on their planet. Kixthra found a note at the bottom of the biological section. It was marked as high priority, but it had been filed after the invasion was approved. Someone had made a terrible mistake. Recommendation: quarantine. Species evolved under extreme competitive pressure. Humans are persistence hunters with pack tactics. They are tool users with high intelligence and extreme adaptability. They do not submit easily. They do not retreat when wounded. Exercise extreme caution. Military engagement not recommended. Not recommended. The words seemed to burn in Kixthra's eyes. They had sent 150,000 soldiers to a death world full of persistence hunters, and nobody had read the warning. "Get me the casualty reports," she ordered. Her officer's hands shook as he pulled up the numbers. "Admiral, we've lost contact with 23 battalions. Confirmed deaths 8,000, wounded 15,000, missing 6,000. "Missing?" Kixthra asked. "What do you mean, missing?" "They went on patrol and never came back, Admiral. No bodies. No signals, just gone." Kixthra thought about the predators she had read about. The ones that hunted in silence, the ones that dragged prey away. She thought about humans living on the same planet as those predators, learning from them, becoming like them. "Show me the tactical maps," she said. The hologram changed to show Earth's surface. Red dots marked their landing zones. Blue dots marked human resistance. When the invasion began 3 cycles ago, the red dots had covered large areas. The blue dots had been scattered and unorganized. Now the map told a different story. The red dots had shrunk. Some had disappeared completely. The blue dots had multiplied and were moving in coordinated patterns. The humans were organizing. They were adapting. "Admiral, incoming transmission from Captain Jiran on the Beijing front," her communications officer announced. "Put it through." A new face appeared. Captain Jiran looked tired. His armor was cracked. Burns covered his arms. "Admiral, we can't hold this position," he said. "The humans are using our own weapons against us. They took plasma rifles from our fallen soldiers. They shouldn't be able to use them. The weapons have biometric locks, but somehow they bypassed the security. They're mounting our rifles on their vehicles. They're taking our ammunition. They're learning faster than anything I've ever seen." "Fall back to the secondary position," Kixthra ordered. "Admiral, there is no secondary position. The humans destroyed it 2 hours ago. They attacked from 3 sides at once. They used their knowledge of the terrain. They knew exactly where our weak points were." Kixthra felt something unfamiliar in her chest. Fear. The same fear she had seen in Velnok's eyes. "How many humans are you facing?" she asked. "We don't know, Admiral. They don't fight in traditional formations. They attack, then disappear. We kill one and 5 more appear. We destroy their weapons and they pick up ours. We thought we were hunting them, Admiral, but I think they're hunting us." The transmission ended. Kixthra sat back in her chair. Around her, the bridge was silent. Everyone had heard. Everyone understood now they had made a terrible mistake. They had invaded a death world. They had attacked a species that evolved to survive anything. And now they were paying the price. Kixthra looked at Earth on the holographic display, the beautiful blue and green planet that hid so much danger. She thought about Commander Velnok's last words. "They don't stop." She pulled up the xenobiology report and began to read everything about humans. If they were going to survive this, she needed to understand what they were really facing, and with each page she read, the horror grew deeper. The surveillance drones were still working. Kixthra wished they weren't. She sat in her command center watching the screens, and each image made her understand a little more why this invasion had failed so completely. On the main screen, a human soldier moved through the ruins of what used to be a tall building. The building had been destroyed by their plasma cannons 2 days ago. The human had been shot in the shoulder. Kixthra could see the wound clearly. It should have killed him. Plasma burns went deep. They destroyed tissue and bone. Most species would be unconscious from the pain. The human had wrapped cloth around the wound. Just cloth, not medical gel, not regeneration patches, cloth, and he was still fighting. He moved behind a broken wall, raised a weapon, and fired. The weapon was one of theirs, a Confederation plasma rifle. He fired 3 shots, all perfectly aimed. 3 of her soldiers fell. "How is he still moving?" her medical officer asked quietly. "That wound should have incapacitated him." Kixthra pulled up the human biology file. She had been reading it for hours now. Their bodies produce a chemical called adrenaline when they're threatened. It blocks pain, increases strength, sharpens their focus. They can keep fighting with injuries that would kill most of us. She switched to another camera. This one showed a different battlefield. A group of Confederation soldiers had surrounded a human position. They had the advantage. Better weapons, better armor, more soldiers. They called for the humans to surrender. Instead, the humans detonated explosives. The blast killed 2 Confederation soldiers. It also killed the humans. All of them. They chose death over surrender. They're insane, someone whispered on the bridge. No, Kixthra said slowly. They're not insane. They're doing exactly what a species from a Deathworld would do. They're fighting like cornered predators, and cornered predators are the most dangerous kind. A new transmission came through. Captain Giron again. He looked worse than before. His armor was gone. He had cuts across his face. Admiral, I need to report something, he said. The humans are using our plasma rifles. Not just using them. They've modified them. They've increased the power output. They've changed the firing mechanisms. Admiral, they've had our technology for 3 days and they're already improving it. Kixthra felt her breathing quicken. 3 days. It had taken the Confederation 50 years to develop plasma rifles. The humans were modifying them in 3 days. They welded 2 rifles together to create a more powerful weapon. Giron continued. They mounted them on their vehicles. They figured out how to recharge the power cells using their own electrical systems. These are supposed to be primitive people, Admiral, but they're adapting faster than anything in our tactical database. Kixthra switched the view to show the battlefield near what the humans called Beijing. She could see their vehicles now, crude metal constructions that ran on chemical combustion, but mounted on top were Confederation plasma rifles. The vehicles moved fast, fired, then disappeared into the city ruins. They're using guerrilla tactics, her tactical officer observed. Hit and run! They attack from unexpected angles. They don't hold territory. They just keep moving. Because they know they can't face us in open battle, another officer said. So they're hiding. No, Kixthra corrected. They're hunting. That's what persistence hunters do. They don't fight fair. They use every advantage, terrain, speed, surprise. They wear down their prey until it can't fight anymore. A xenobiologist's report appeared on her secondary screen. She had requested a full analysis of human evolution. Now reading it, she understood why this invasion was doomed from the start. The report explained that Earth was one of the most hostile planets ever discovered, not just because of the predators or the weather. Because of everything. The planet's entire ecosystem was based on competition. Every species fought for survival against every other species. Food was limited. Territory was fought over. Only the strongest, smartest, and most adaptable survived. Humans had competed against everything. Against massive predators with claws and teeth. Against diseases that could wipe out entire populations. Against weather that could destroy homes in minutes. Against other humans who wanted the same resources. And they had won every single competition. They had become the apex predator. Not because they were the biggest. Not because they were the strongest. Because they were smarter, more adaptable, more determined. Admiral, look at this, her communications officer said, his voice tight with worry. A new video appeared. It showed a human territory called Siberia. The temperature sensor read -40 degrees. That was cold enough to kill most of their soldiers in minutes without environmental suits. The video showed a Confederation patrol. They were wearing full thermal protection suits. Their breath created fog in the cold air. They moved slowly, carefully, trying to stay warm. Then humans appeared. They wore thick animal furs. No environmental suits, no heating systems, just furs, and they moved fast. They ran through the snow like it was nothing. They attacked the patrol with primitive rifles that used chemical explosives instead of plasma. The patrol tried to fight back, but their weapons were sluggish in the cold. The plasma rifles took longer to charge in freezing temperatures. The humans knew this. They had planned for it. The patrol was destroyed in less than 2 minutes. They live in that temperature, Kixthra said quietly. It's normal for them. That region is populated. They raise families there. They build homes there. They survive in temperatures that would kill most of us, and they do it without technology. She switched to another camera. This one showing a region the humans called the Amazon. The temperature was the opposite, hot, humid. The air was so thick with moisture that sensors were failing. The plant growth was so dense that visibility was nearly zero. Another patrol was missing. The last transmission showed them moving through the thick vegetation. Then nothing. Just screaming and the sound of gunfire. When recovery teams arrived 3 hours later, they found nothing. No bodies, no equipment, no blood. The humans had taken everything. How did they move so many bodies so quickly? The recovery team leader had asked. There were 40 soldiers in that patrol. Kixthra knew the answer now. The humans didn't move the bodies. The Amazon had predators. Large reptiles, big cats. animals that could drag away prey. The humans knew how to use them. They had lived alongside these predators for thousands of years. They knew how to make the predators work for them. A new report arrived from the naval engagement near the human territory called Japan. Kixthra read it with growing disbelief. The humans had taken their civilian boats and turned them into weapons. They filled the boats with explosives. Then they drove the boats directly into Confederation landing craft. The explosions destroyed the landing craft. They also killed the humans driving the boats. They called it a kamikaze attack. The report explained that kamikaze meant divine wind. It was a human battle tactic from one of their previous wars. They had done this before. They had intentionally crashed aircraft into enemy ships. They had killed themselves to stop an enemy. What kind of species does this? Her tactical officer asked, reading over her shoulder. Kixthra pulled up the human history file. She had been avoiding it. Now she wished she had read it first, before the invasion was even planned. Humans had been at war for their entire recorded history. Over 15,000 conflicts. They fought over territory, over resources, over ideas, over religion. They fought each other constantly. They had developed weapons specifically designed to cause maximum pain and suffering. Weapons that poisoned the air. Weapons that melted flesh. Weapons that could destroy entire cities in seconds. 50 years ago, humans had developed nuclear weapons. Bombs that used atomic energy. Each bomb could destroy a city, kill millions, poison the land for generations. And humans had built thousands of these weapons. They had pointed them at each other. They had been ready to destroy their own planet, but they didn't. They chose not to. They created agreements, treaties. They decided that mutual destruction was unacceptable. So they kept the weapons but didn't use them. They had the power to destroy themselves, Kixthra said aloud, and they chose restraint. They're not mindless killers. They're intelligent, disciplined, and absolutely ruthless when defending their home. The casualty counter updated on her screen. 42,000 dead, 67,000 wounded, 15,000 missing. In 3 cycles, they had lost more soldiers than in the last 10 years of all other conflicts combined. Admiral, I have a priority message from the xenopsychology team, her communications officer said. Play it. A face appeared on screen. Dr. Muxara, the chief xenopsychologist. She looked frightened. Admiral, you need to order an immediate evacuation, she said without greeting. I've completed my analysis of human psychology. These creatures aren't fighting us like we're conquerors. They're fighting us like we're an extinction-level threat. Every instinct they have, everything their evolution taught them, is screaming at them to eliminate us completely. They won't negotiate. They won't surrender. They'll fight until every single one of them is dead, or we're gone. This is what they do. This is what they've always done. They're apex predators facing what they perceive as a rival apex predator. They won't stop until one of us is extinct. Commander Jixril pressed himself against the wall of the fortification and tried not to make any sound. Outside, the jungle was quiet. Too quiet. That was the problem. When the jungle went silent, it meant the humans were near. Report, he whispered into his communicator. Perimeter is secure, Commander, came the response. Motion sensors show no movement. Jixril didn't believe it. The motion sensors had shown no movement before the last 3 attacks, too. Then the humans had appeared from nowhere and killed half his unit. They knew how to move without triggering the sensors. They knew where the blind spots were. They had studied everything. He checked his weapon. The plasma rifle was fully charged. He had 2 backup power cells. He had grenades. He had armor. He had training. None of it mattered. The humans didn't fight fair. A scream came from the eastern wall. Then gunfire. Then silence. Eastern wall report. Jixril shouted into his communicator. No response. Eastern wall respond. Nothing. Jixril ran toward the eastern wall with 10 soldiers behind him. They found the guards dead. Not shot, not blown up. Their throats had been cut. Silently, efficiently. The humans had climbed over the wall, killed the guards without making a sound, and disappeared back into the jungle. How? One of his soldiers asked. We have sensors. We have cameras. How did they get in? Jixril looked at the wall. It was 4 meters high. Smooth metal, impossible to climb without equipment. But there were marks in the metal. Small holes. The humans had used climbing tools. Simple metal spikes. They had hammered them into the wall and climbed up. Then they had pulled the spikes out and taken them away. Technology. The Confederation had advanced sensors and plasma weapons. The humans had metal spikes and determination, and somehow the spikes were winning. In the Amazon basin, the situation was even worse. Captain Miranda had stopped sending patrols outside the base. It was too dangerous. The jungle itself seemed to work for the humans. "Admiral, I've lost 60 soldiers to this environment," she reported to Kixthra. "Not to humans. To the environment. We've had soldiers killed by poisonous insects, by predators, by plants that contain toxins. One of my officers stepped on something called a bullet ant. The pain was so severe he went into shock. The humans walk through this jungle like it's a garden." Kixthra listened to the report and pulled up the environmental data for the Amazon. The heat was unbearable. The humidity made it hard to breathe. The plant life was so thick that you couldn't see more than a few meters ahead, and everything was trying to kill you. Poisonous frogs that secreted toxins through their skin, spiders the size of dinner plates, snakes that could swallow prey whole, plants with thorns that caused infections, water that contained parasites, air that carried diseases, and 8 million humans lived in or near this region. They had lived there for thousands of years. They knew every plant, every animal, every danger. They had learned to survive in one of the most hostile environments on the planet. The Confederation soldiers were dying just trying to exist there. The humans were using the environment as a weapon. "We found one of our patrols yesterday," Miranda continued. "They had been attacked by something called a jaguar. It's a large predator, weighs about 100 kilograms. We tracked the jaguar and found that the humans had driven it toward our patrol deliberately. They used scents, sounds. They made the predator hunt our soldiers instead of them." Kixthra switched her view to the Siberian front. The situation there was just as bad, but for different reasons. The temperature was killing them. Minus 50 degrees in some areas. The environmental suits kept them alive, but barely. The suits were designed for short-term exposure, not for living in those conditions. The power cells drained quickly in the cold. The weapons operated at reduced efficiency. Every breath hurt. Every movement was exhausting, and the humans lived there, not just survived. They had cities, towns, families, children playing in the snow. Kixthra had seen the surveillance footage. Human children, small ones, rolling around in frozen water for fun. They called it sledding. They enjoyed the cold. "Admiral, we intercepted a human patrol yesterday," Captain Miranda reported from Siberia. They were wearing animal furs. No environmental protection. No heating systems. Just dead animal skins. We engaged them and they retreated into the forest. We pursued. "That was a mistake. What happened?" Kixthra asked. "They led us into a trap. The forest was denser than our scanners showed. The temperature dropped to minus 60. Our weapons stopped working properly. The power cells couldn't maintain charge. Then the humans attacked from all sides. They knew the terrain perfectly. They knew where to run, where to hide, where to shoot from. We lost 20 soldiers before we could retreat." "How many humans were in the patrol?" Kixthra asked. 5, Admiral. 5 humans defeated a unit of 20 trained soldiers." Kixthra closed her eyes. 5 against 20, and the 5 had won. The reports continued to pour in. From every front, every location. The story was always the same. The humans adapted. They learned. They used everything available to them. The environment, the terrain, their knowledge of their own planet. In urban areas, they used the ruins of destroyed buildings as cover. They knew every street, every alley, every hiding place. Confederation soldiers moved through cities carefully, slowly, always expecting ambush. The humans moved fast and confident. They had grown up in these cities. They knew them better than any scanner could show. In forests, the humans disappeared like ghosts. They used natural camouflage. They moved silently. They set traps using simple materials, ropes, pits, sharpened sticks. Primitive but effective. Soldiers died to traps that had been used on Earth for thousands of years. In deserts, the humans used the heat and sun to their advantage. They attacked during the hottest part of the day when Confederation soldiers were most vulnerable. They knew where to find water, where to find shade, how to survive in temperatures that would kill most species. In mountains, they used the high altitude. The thin air made it hard for Confederation soldiers to breathe. The humans had lived at high altitudes for generations. Their bodies had adapted. They could run up mountain slopes while soldiers struggled to walk. Everywhere, in every environment, the humans had the advantage. Because it was their planet. They had evolved to survive in all of it. Kixthra reviewed the tactical maps again. The situation had completely reversed. When the invasion began, the Confederation forces had been on the offense. They had attacked, moved forward, taken territory. Now they were in defensive positions, hiding in fortifications, afraid to send out patrols, waiting for attacks they couldn't predict or prevent. The hunters had become the hunted. A message arrived from Commander Vexlar stationed near what the humans called the Mediterranean Sea. Admiral, we've analyzed human communication intercepts. They're coordinating globally. All their nations have stopped fighting each other. They've united against us. They're sharing intelligence, sharing weapons, sharing tactics. We thought their divisions would make them weak. Instead, they've put aside thousands of years of conflict to focus on us. That was possibly the most terrifying thing Kixthra had heard yet. Humans fought each other constantly. Their history was full of wars between their own nations. But faced with an outside threat, they had simply stopped fighting each other and united. 8 billion humans, all working together, all focused on one goal, eliminating the invaders. She pulled up the casualty report again. The numbers made her feel sick. 89,000 dead, 100,000 wounded, 23,000 missing. In less than 4 cycles, they had lost half their invasion force. Admiral, we're receiving a general distress call from the Australian continent, her communications officer announced. Play it. The voice was panicked, barely coherent. They came from the water. We didn't know they could fight in water. They have vehicles that move underwater. They have soldiers that swim with breathing equipment. They attacked our coastal base from the ocean. We never expected. The transmission cut off. Kixthra brought up information about human naval capability. She had ignored it before. Humans didn't have advanced ships. They couldn't threaten forces in orbit. So their naval forces seemed irrelevant. But humans didn't just fight on land. They fought on water too. They had developed submarines, ships that traveled underwater. They had trained soldiers to fight in aquatic environments. They had equipment that let them breathe underwater for hours. The Confederation had never fought an aquatic species before. They had never needed to defend against underwater attacks. The humans had found another weakness and exploited it. Admiral, her tactical officer said quietly, I need to show you something. A new display appeared. It showed projected casualties over the next 2 cycles. The numbers were devastating. At the current rate of loss, they would have no effective fighting force within 6 cycles. They would all be dead or captured within 8. We're not winning, the officer said. We never were. Every day we lose more soldiers. Every day the humans get stronger. They're taking our weapons. They're learning from every encounter. They're adapting faster than we can respond. If we stay, they'll kill us all. Kixthra knew he was right. She had known it for days now, but admitting defeat was hard. The Confederation had never lost an invasion before. They had conquered dozens of worlds. The transmission request came through on an open channel, unencrypted, public. The humans wanted everyone to see this. Kixthra accepted the transmission. A human face appeared on the main screen. He was older, with short gray hair and a face marked by lines that suggested both intelligence and experience. He wore a military uniform, dark blue with insignia that the translation matrix identified as General. Fleet Admiral Kixthra, the human said. His voice was calm, too calm. I am General Marcus Chen of the United Earth Defense Coalition. Thank you for accepting this transmission. Kixthra said nothing. Around her, the bridge crew watched in silence. You have been on our planet for 4 cycles, Chen continued. In that time you have killed millions of our people. You have destroyed our cities. You have poisoned our land with your weapons. You came here expecting us to surrender. That was your first mistake. Chen's expression didn't change. He spoke like he was discussing weather, not war. I'm contacting you now to deliver an ultimatum. You have 48 hours to withdraw all forces from Earth. Remove every soldier, every ship, every piece of equipment. If you do this, we will allow you to leave peacefully. If you do not, we will be forced to escalate. The word hung in the air. Kixthra's breathing apparatus fluttered. Escalate? They were treating this as a minor conflict? This invasion had involved 150,000 soldiers, advanced plasma weapons, orbital bombardment, and the humans were talking about escalation. You've seen our cities, Chen said. You fought our soldiers. You've experienced our planet's environment, but you haven't seen what we're truly capable of. Let me show you something. The image changed. It showed massive underground facilities. Huge concrete structures built deep beneath the Earth's surface. Inside were weapons, missiles, thousands of them. Each one was marked with a symbol that made Kixithra's blood freeze. The symbol for nuclear radiation. 80 years ago, Chen explained as the camera moved through the facility, humanity nearly destroyed itself. We created weapons capable of ending all life on our planet. We called it the Cold War. Two of our nations pointed these weapons at each other. We built enough nuclear warheads to destroy every city on Earth 1,000 times over. We had the power to turn our entire planet into a radioactive wasteland. The image showed more facilities, more weapons. City after city had weapons hidden beneath it. But we didn't use them, Chen said. We chose restraint. We decided that mutual destruction was unacceptable. We created treaties, agreements. We still have the weapons, but we agreed not to use them against each other. He paused, and his expression hardened slightly. You are not each other, Admiral. You are an outside threat, and the rules are different for outside threats. Kixithra felt cold. She pulled up information about nuclear weapons in her database. The description made her understand why the humans had nearly destroyed themselves. One nuclear bomb could level a city. The radiation would poison the area for decades. The weapons created heat hotter than the surface of stars. They could ignite the atmosphere itself if used in large enough quantities, and humans had thousands of them. Your intelligence was correct that we only recently achieved FTL travel, Chen continued.
What your intelligence missed was why we developed it so rapidly.
We've spent the last 80 years preparing for extinction, not just from ourselves, but from anything that might threaten us. We've planned for asteroids, for climate collapse, for disease, for alien invasion. The image changed again. This time it showed human scientists working on something. The translation matrix identified it as an FTL drive, but it looked wrong, crude. It was made from pieces of Confederation technology welded together with human materials. 3 days ago, we finished reverse engineering your FTL drives, Chen said. We've built our first FTL-capable ship. It's not pretty and it's not elegant, but it works. We've tested it. We can now travel between star systems. Kixithra leaned forward. 3 days. They had reverse-engineered technology that had taken the Confederation centuries to develop. In 3 days. We've also decoded your communication protocols, Chen continued. We know where your fleet is positioned. We know your command structure. We know which systems you've conquered and which ones are your homeworlds. The screen showed a star map. It was their fleet positions. Exact locations. How did the humans have this information? Their encryption was supposed to be unbreakable. Now let me tell you what happens if you don't withdraw, Chen said. His calm voice made the words even more terrifying. We will load every nuclear weapon we have onto FTL-capable vessels. We will add every biological weapon we've ever created, every chemical agent, every disease, everything we've ever made that can kill. And then we will find your homeworld. We will turn your planet into what you tried to turn Earth into, a graveyard. He leaned forward slightly. We've placed nuclear devices beneath each of your landing zones. If you try to fight back during the withdrawal, we'll detonate them. We've infiltrated your supply lines. We know where your ammunition is stored, your fuel, your food. We can cut off everything that keeps your army functioning. Kixithra checked the intelligence reports. Could the humans have really infiltrated their supply lines? She pulled up the security logs. There were gaps. Small ones. Times when sensors went offline. Times when guards changed shifts. Times when nobody was watching. The humans had found those gaps. They had used them. I want to be very clear, Admiral, Chen said. We don't want to do this. We don't want more war. We don't want to spread death to other worlds. But we will, because the alternative is allowing you to conquer us. And we will never allow that. We would rather burn the entire galaxy than surrender our homeworld. His expression softened slightly. You made a mistake, Admiral. You assumed that advanced technology means superiority. You assumed that a species with primitive weapons couldn't fight back effectively. You assumed that we would act rationally and surrender when faced with overwhelming force. He shook his head slowly. But we're not a rational species when our survival is threatened. We're a Deathworld species. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every single day. We survived ice ages and supervolcano eruptions. We survived plagues that killed half our population. We survived each other. We learned to be more dangerous than anything else on our planet. That's what Deathworld species do. We adapt, we overcome. We survive. Chen stood up from his chair. 48 hours, Admiral. Remove your forces and you can leave in peace. Stay, and we'll show you what a Deathworld species can really do. We're not trapped on this planet with you. You're trapped on this planet with us. The transmission ended. The bridge was silent. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. They had all heard it. They all understood what it meant. The humans weren't bluffing. Kixthra knew that with absolute certainty. Everything she had learned about them told her they would do exactly what Chen had promised. They would rather die than surrender. And if they were going to die, they would take the Confederation with them. Pull up the nuclear weapons file, she ordered quietly. Her science officer worked quickly. The file appeared, and it was worse than Kixthra had imagined. The humans had developed hydrogen bombs, fusion weapons. Each one was thousands of times more powerful than the original atomic bombs. A single bomb could destroy an entire city and poison the region for decades, and the humans had thousands of them. Spread across their entire planet, hidden in underground silos, mounted on submarines that traveled beneath the oceans, loaded onto aircraft that patrolled constantly. The humans could launch these weapons in minutes if they chose to. How many warheads do they have? Kixthra asked. Estimated 12,000, Admiral, her science officer replied. Enough to destroy every major settlement on their planet multiple times over. And they're willing to use them against us? According to our psychological analysis, yes. Humans have a documented history of last stands. They would rather die fighting than live as conquered people. If they believe extinction is the alternative to victory, they will choose mutual destruction. Dr. Muxara appeared on a secondary screen. The xenopsychologist looked exhausted. Admiral, I've finished analyzing General Chen's transmission. He's not making empty threats. Human game theory includes something they call mutually assured destruction. It's a strategy where both sides have the power to destroy each other completely. The theory is that neither side will attack because both will be destroyed. But we're not equally matched, Kixthra said. We have superior technology. That doesn't matter to them, Dr. Muxara explained. They don't need to win. They just need to make the cost of victory unacceptable. If they can destroy our homeworld, then winning Earth becomes meaningless. We conquer a radioactive wasteland and they destroy everything we care about. Nobody wins. That's the point. Kixthra thought about her own homeworld. The beautiful blue seas, the crystal cities, the billions of people living there in peace. She thought about what would happen if human ships appeared in orbit. If nuclear weapons fell from the sky, if biological weapons were released into the atmosphere. They wouldn't really do it, someone on the bridge said. They'd be killing themselves too. Yes, Dr. Muxara agreed. But humans have proven throughout their history that they're willing to sacrifice themselves for their species' survival. Fleet Admiral Kixthra stood before the Galactic Council. The chamber was massive, with representatives from 47 different species, arranged in a circle around the central platform. All eyes were on her. Some looked curious. Others looked angry. None of them understood yet what had happened on Earth. She activated the holographic display. Images of Earth appeared, rotating slowly above the council floor. We lost 127,000 soldiers, she began. Her voice was steady, but inside she felt hollow. Not to superior technology, not to greater numbers. We lost them to a species that refused to accept defeat. Council member Thelnora, a being made of crystalline structures that refracted light in complex patterns, spoke first. Explain how a primitive species defeated a Confederation invasion force. Your report claims they had no energy shields, no plasma weapons, no proper space fleet. How did they resist? Kixthra had known this question would come. She had prepared for it. But speaking the words aloud still hurt. Because we fundamentally misunderstood what we were facing, she said. We judged them by their technology. We should have judged them by their planet. She changed the display to show Earth's classification. The words Deathworld, Class 12, appeared in large red letters. Earth is one of the most hostile planets ever discovered. The gravity is 1.4 times standard. The oxygen levels are high enough to fuel rapid combustion. The weather systems produce storms that can level cities. The planet has 6 different climate zones, each one deadly in its own way. And humans evolved to survive in all of them. Council member Vorath, an amphibious species from a water world, made a clicking sound of confusion. Many species live on difficult planets. This doesn't explain your defeat. It's not just that the planet is difficult, Kixthra said. It's that everything on the planet is designed to kill. Earth has more predator species than any world in our database. Large reptiles with jaws that can crush metal. Mammals weighing 800 kilograms that can run faster than our vehicles. Pack hunters that can chase prey for days without stopping. Insects that inject lethal venom. Plants that secrete poison. Bacteria that cause fatal diseases. Everything is hostile. She brought up images of Earth's wildlife. The council members shifted uncomfortably as they saw the variety of deadly creatures. And humans became the dominant species. Kixithra continued. Not by being bigger. Not by being stronger. By being smarter. More adaptable. More determined. They survived by becoming more dangerous than everything else on their planet. She pulled up the combat footage. The council watched in silence as human soldiers fought with injuries that should have killed them. As human civilians picked up weapons and charged at trained soldiers. As humans used their own environment as a weapon against the invaders. They don't fight like any species we've encountered before, Kixthra said. When we destroyed their cities, they fought from the ruins. When we eliminated their military, the civilians became soldiers. When we wounded them, they ignored the pain and continued fighting. They didn't surrender. They didn't retreat. They just kept fighting. Council member Thel Nora spoke again. You still had numerical superiority. You had 400,000 troops in reserve. Why did you not deploy them? Kixthra had been waiting for this question. She had dreaded it. Because it wouldn't have mattered, she said quietly. The human population is 8.2 billion. Every human became a potential combatant when their homeworld was threatened. We could have sent 1 million soldiers. 10 million. It wouldn't have changed the outcome. We would have had to kill every single human. Every child. Every elderly person. Every civilian. All 8.2 billion of them. And even then, I'm not certain we would have won. She brought up the final transmission from General Chen. The council watched as the human delivered his ultimatum. When he mentioned nuclear weapons, several council members made sounds of alarm. When he described the plan to attack Confederation homeworlds, the chamber erupted in shocked conversation. Kixthra waited for silence before continuing. The humans were willing to destroy their own planet to stop us. They were willing to sacrifice themselves completely. And they had the weapons to do it. They developed nuclear weapons 80 years ago. Bombs that use atomic energy. Each one can destroy a city. They built thousands of these weapons. Enough to end all life on their planet multiple times over. Why would any species do this? Vorath asked, genuinely confused. Why create weapons that can destroy your own world? Because they were at war with each other, Kixithra explained. For most of their history, humans have fought amongst themselves. They developed these weapons to use against each other, but when we invaded, they put aside all their conflicts and united against us. 8 billion humans, hundreds of nations, thousands of years of internal warfare, all of it stopped instantly to focus on one goal, eliminating us. She brought up the human history file. In the last 5,000 years, humans have fought over 15,000 wars. They have created weapons specifically designed to cause maximum suffering. Chemical weapons that melt flesh. Biological weapons that spread diseases. Explosive weapons that tear bodies apart. They have been killing each other efficiently for their entire recorded history. Council member Dal-Uma, an insectoid species known for logical thinking, clicked its mandibles thoughtfully. Then they are a dangerous species. Why did you not request orbital bombardment? Why not destroy them from space? Because they had already reverse-engineered our FTL drives, Kixthra said. In 3 days, they figured out technology that took us centuries to develop. They built crude but functional FTL ships. If we had tried to destroy them from orbit, they would have loaded those ships with nuclear weapons and attacked our homeworlds. They made it very clear that they would rather die than be conquered. She paused, making sure every council member understood. They have a concept they call mutually assured destruction. If they can't win, they make sure you can't win either. They accept mutual extinction as a valid outcome. That's what makes them so dangerous. They're not afraid to die if it means taking their enemy with them. The council was silent. Kixthra could see them processing this information, trying to understand how a species could think this way. I gave the order to withdraw, she continued, not because we couldn't kill more humans. We could have, but because the cost of victory was too high. We would have lost all our soldiers. They would have attacked our homeworlds. Billions would have died on both sides. And for what? To conquer a radioactive wasteland? She changed the display to show Earth's updated classification file. The warnings covered the entire screen. I have updated Earth's classification. It now reads Deathworld Class 12 Native Species. Humanity. Status: quarantine indefinitely. Recommended action: peaceful contact only. Alliance preferred over conflict. Avoid military engagement at all costs. You're saying we should negotiate with them? Velnora asked. Make them allies. Yes, Kixthra said firmly. Because in approximately 6 cycles they will have a functional FTL fleet. They're building ships right now. Whether we're ready or not, humans will enter the galaxy. We have a choice. We can be their enemies or we can be their friends. I strongly recommend we choose friendship. She brought up projections of human technological advancement. They learn faster than any species I've studied. They adapt to new situations instantly. They take our technology and improve it. They've gone from barely leaving their solar system to building FTL ships in less than 4 cycles. In 10 years, they might be more advanced than us. In 50 years, they could be the most powerful species in the galaxy. That's speculation, Daluma said. Is it? Kixthra challenged. They went from using wooden clubs to nuclear weapons in less than 10,000 years. They went from first-powered flight to walking on their moon in 66 years. They achieve in decades what takes other species centuries, and that's while fighting among themselves. Imagine what they'll accomplish now that they're united. She let that sink in. But here's what's important, Kixthra continued. Despite everything I've said, despite how dangerous they are, humans are not inherently evil. They're not conquerors. They're survivors. General Chen made that clear in his transmission. He said, we don't want war. We want peace. But we're very good at war because we've had to be. She pulled up images of human cities. Not the destroyed ones, but the ones that had been left intact. Parks where children played. Markets where people traded. Art, music, culture. They create beauty alongside violence. They write poetry about peace while developing weapons. They're capable of incredible compassion and terrible cruelty. They're complex, contradictory, and absolutely fascinating. Kixthra looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each council member. I lost 127,000 soldiers because we underestimated them, because we judged them by their technology instead of their character, because we didn't understand what a Deathworld species truly means. I'm asking you not to make the same mistake. She brought up her final recommendation. I propose we send a diplomatic delegation to Earth, a proper first contact mission. We offer alliance. We offer trade. We offer friendship. We treat them as equals, not as primitives to be conquered, because that's what they are. They're our equals. Possibly our superiors, and they deserve to be treated with respect.